Hello friends, welcome all to my channel SensexKaFunda. In this video, we are going to talk about a very important topic, the rupee depreciation that we are seeing, the constant fall in the rupee, and I will try to explain to you the logic behind this rupee fall and why I believe the RBI is deliberately allowing the rupee to fall in a way that no one has explained to you before. So if you feel my video has added value to your knowledge, please say yes in comments. And friends, you all must have noticed the depreciation in the rupee today, a very big fall in the rupee, 88.1475. So $1 gets you 88.14 rupees. It fell by 0.63%, which is to a record low. And more importantly, rupee has seen a fall of 0.63% in a day. Friends, this percentage is huge in currency markets. If you look at 5 days depreciation, it's close to 1%. So these moves are huge in a currency context. People might be wondering, where is our Reserve Bank of India? How does the RBI support the rupee when it's falling? It's actually a very simple equation. We have a large amount of forex reserves. Let's see how much forex reserves do we have. So our forex reserves currently stand at $690 billion as of the week ending August 22nd, according to the Reserve Bank of India, and this comprises of foreign currency assets of $582 billion, which includes holding in major currencies like USD, Euro, GBP, JPY. So how does the RBI support the rupee when it's falling? We have large amount of forex reserves. The RBI sells aggressively dollars in the international market as much as possible and buys rupees in return. This increases the demand for Indian rupees and helps bring some stability. So far, RBI seems to be absent in saving the rupee. One day, 0.63% depreciation. 1 week, 0.94% depreciation. Friends, as you see, rupee is in a free fall, but RBI seems to be absent. So then the question arises, is this an RBI master plan to do a rupee devaluation? And that's exactly the point I want to explain and present to you here. A country wants to protect its exports. It often resorts to currency devaluation. And that's the strategy many nations use to make their exports more competitive. And right now you are aware of the Trump tariffs. Trump has placed 25% tariffs on imports. And essentially the Trump tariffs could severely damage your country's exports. Why? Because if we talk about India's biggest trading partner, especially where we have a trade surplus, it is with the United States. So no doubt we have to protect our exports. So then the question arises, how is it done? Sometimes the currency is deliberately devalued, yes, intentionally brought down. Now you might ask, how does that even work? And that's exactly what I'm going. And then you might realize that the continuous fall of the rupee could be one of the strong reasons of the RBI strategy, and it might be actually RBI's brahmastra to save the exports of India. Now let me give you an example to help you understand why, if the rupee is devalued, it would help exports. $1 is equal to 80 rupees. Now I know this is not the case and we are already at 88, but let's assume for argument's sake that $1 is equal to 80 rupees. So we see that an iPhone costs 8,000 rupees to manufacture in India. Now we want to sell this iPhone in the US, and that's what Apple would like to do. It would manufacture in India and sell it to US. It manufactures at the cost of 8,000 rupees, and now it has to sell that iPhone in US dollars in America. So how much would that cost in dollars? So let's assume $1 is 80 rupees and 8,000 rupees would be equal to $100. Simple. So India earns $100 for each iPhone exported to the US. But herein comes the twist. Decides he's going to place 25% tariffs on India. Now I know the tariffs are 50% because 25 25% is for Russian oil export. But let's assume for argument's sake, Trump decides to put 25% tariffs on Indian exports of iPhone. So how much would the iPhone cost in the US? $100 is the production cost in India, right? We worked out that. Plus 25% tariffs by Trump. So how much would that be? That would become to $125. This is just simple mathematics, my friends. So the final price becomes $125. So what happens if the phone becomes $125? The price increases, right? Very simple. The price increases. What will happen to the demand? Demand will go down because what used to cost $100 in US is now costing $125 in US. So the cost goes down. So the cost increases, demand decreases. The product becomes more expensive, and when the prices rise, demand usually falls. That affects business. So this tariff creates a problem for Indian exports. Now, what's the solution? Herein steps the RBI and decides it needs to protect the country's exports. So it decides it wants to devalue the currency. The rupee needs to fall further. So let's assume now the rupee, in order to protect the country's exports, the RBI allows the rupee to fall to 100 rupees to a dollar. So basically what used to be 80 rupees to a dollar will now be 100 rupees to a dollar. So what happens? In this case, just like the RBI sells dollars to support the rupee, it may also devalue the rupee to support exports. So let's see now how the devaluation of the rupee helps the country's exports. 1000 rupees, right? Now, if the dollar becomes $1, to offset the tariff, the rupee needs to be devalued further. Say $1 is equal to 100 rupees. Now, 8000 rupees, which is the production cost, would convert to how much in dollar terms, because Apple needs to sell in dollars, not in rupees in US. So it turns out to be $80. So the manufacturing cost becomes $80. And now if we add plus 25% tariffs of Trump, this becomes $100. So bingo, RBI has managed to make the final price $100. The pre-tariff and post-tariffs prices match and demand remains stable. So what did the RBI do? The RBI strategically devalued the rupee to protect exports. Yes, the rupee weakened and other sectors are impacted, but sometimes sacrifices are needed to maintain your exports. So just like the RBI sells dollars to support the rupee, it may also devalue the rupee to support the export. So the fall in the rupee that we are seeing now might be a deliberate move by the RBI to protect exports in response to tariffs. Once the situation clears up, the rupee could be strengthened again, possibly by selling dollars. Now friends, I know this was a tough concept to understand, but I tried to explain in very simple terms how the rupee depreciation would help export competitiveness despite tariffs. And the goal of the government seems simple: protect exports. Hope this makes sense. If it did, please write yes in the comments and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.